Friends, dear scholars, let us start today's discussion. Last week we discussed chapter 1 and 3, 1 and 2 of the first treatise of John Locke. So today we start with discussing chapter 3. Its title is Of Adam's Title to Sovereignty by Creation.
So slide number.
One. So I have not shared the slides. Share. No, these are new slides. I think I have not shared. Okay, let me share. I share. I share the slides. It will just take me a few seconds. So yes, if your net is working, you can join me on Talkland on YouTube live. If your net is not working, I am sharing the slides on your WhatsApp group. Your WhatsApp group is Theories of Politics. Theories of Politics. Hmm. Just a few seconds. Yes. No. This one. Theories of Politics. Mm, Yes. Yeah. I think now you can have it from your WhatsApp. Okay. Yes. Chapter 3 of Adam's title to sovereignty by creation. So, in this chapter, four things are discussed: the end of the first foundation of power, the question of property and common use, power over the lion versus power over a son, and the fourth point is the problem of government in habit. So, let us first discuss the end of the first foundation of power. Please switch your mobiles on silent mode. Silent mode. So when your phone rings, it is a distraction. The end of the first foundation of power. Let me also switch it on silent modes. Yes. The end of the first foundation of power. As you know, in this treatise, John Locke is discussing Filmer's book, Robert Filmer? Robert Filmer's book, Patriarcha. So Filmer is claiming that being the first parent means absolute power. Filmer is claiming that being the first parent means absolute power. This power includes the right to rule over the lives, over the deaths, and over the property of the children. This is Filmer's argument. This claim is very unusual. John Locke says this claim is very unusual. For example, God also created the first mare before the rest of the horses. It is John Locke's argument. God also created the first mare before the rest of the horses. God created the first cow before the rest of the cattle. God created the first male and female of every single species. Does this mean that the first male lion was the sovereign of all the lions? John Locke is asking Filmer. Does the first mare have monarchical power over the rest of the mares? No one claims that the first animals had a ruling right over the others. Therefore, Being created first does not automatically give a right to rule absolutely. If Filmer claims Adam's power comes from a special command from God, he must prove it. Filmer must prove it. If he claims Adam's power comes from a special command from God. But Filmer does not stick to the idea of a special command. He relies on the fact that he was the first father. Filmer relies on the fact that Adam was the first father, so he had the absolute authority, absolute power over his sons. He simply asserts that a father's power is always royal power. Filmer simply asserts. He does not give any evidence.
सर पेज कौन सा है?
Slide
ये
or
जो सर प्रिंट आउट हमने लिए हैं इसमें तो नहीं आ रहा उसमें
15 है पेज नंबर 15 the first paragraph 15 paragraph
okay. So Filmer simply asserts that a father's power is always royal power. He is simply repeating the same idea over and over again. So, in fact, Robert Filmer is propagating propaganda. Propaganda is repeating the statements, repeating the things again and again, and with the passage of time, people start believing it. Okay, this is how propaganda works. So, John Locke says Robert Filmer is repeating the same thing in his book instead of providing some evidence, providing some proof. He is providing no real evidence. He is providing no real reason to support this major claim. Filmer says that God granted Adam private dominion over the world. Dominion means the right to own and control something. Dominion, state, like it is like state. Filmer says this grant is the second reason why Adam had supreme power. So, this second argument is that God has given a dominion to Adam. So, Adam has the right to rule absolutely. This second argument fails just like the first one. It must fail because even if Adam owned the whole world, this does not make him a king over his sons. Even if God gave the whole world to Adam, it does not make him a king over his sons. It does not give him the right to rule over their lives. A man may have great wealth and a man may own all the land on earth. This wealth makes him a great landlord. This wealth makes him a great landlord, not a king. If a man is a landlord, he has a lot of land. It does not make him an absolute prince over all other men. Men are free and equal by nature. Men are free by nature and men are equal by nature. They all they are all equally God's creatures. They are all equally God's creatures. They cannot be put under the political power of another man based on wealth. Let us look at the details of the grant. The grant that the God granted the earth to Adam. God told Adam to subdue the earth. To subdue the earth. This command gave Adam the power to use the earth. The word subdue means to take possession of the land. So Adam became owner of the land, like a landlord. Like a landlord. This possession is for the comfort of Adam's own survival. But the grant did not necessarily give him private dominion over the entire world. This grant was made for the use of man. So Adam and other men they can use the land for cultivating it, for using its fruits and roots and other having other benefits from the earth. It was not made for the benefit of a single private ruler. This grant of earth to Adam, or this grant of earth to men, it was not made for the benefit of a single private ruler. The second sub heading of this chapter, the second part of this chapter, is the question of property and common use. Filmer has a serious objection to the idea of a natural freedom, of natural freedom. Filmer has serious objection to the idea of natural freedom. He says that if Adam did not have private property, then all men had the world in common. All men had the world in common. Filmer asks, if the world was held in common, how could anyone get private property? This is Filmer's chief problem with the idea that the world was given to all men in common. God gave the world to Adam for him to use for his survival. This is clear in the grant that gave him the herbs and the fruits. God gave him the right to eat them for food. We get food from earth by using it. This right to eat the food automatically includes a right to take possession of the food. Now, Filmer is saying people do not own the land privately. The ownership, the possession is common. It is a common property of all men, all people. So John Locke says if we cannot own it privately, individually, we cannot benefit from it. Because when we use anything, we drink water. Before drinking it, it becomes my personal property. Okay, and somewhere in at another place in some book, John Locke, I think he explains the difference between public property and private property, and he gives a very interesting example. He says, for example, there is a fountain, water fountain, which is common property of the people, and the water flowing through the fountain, it is public property. But you take a flask or any pot, go there and fill it with the water. The water that you have taken into your pot or flask, now it has become your personal property. Before putting that water into your pot, it was public property. Anyone could have it. Anyone could take that water. But once you took it into your pot for your use, now it has become your personal property, private property. So this is, you cannot use anything until and unless you get hold of it. And when you get hold of it, it becomes you become its owner. You have its possession. It is now your personal property, private property. So then you use it. So if Robert Filmer's argument is accepted, then we cannot own anything and we cannot use anything. So this is the one difference between Robert Filmer and John Locke.
Sir, but I have a question.
Yes.
ये जो चीज पब्लिक यूज के लिए है, अगर हम उस पे अपनी पोजीशन शो करते हैं, उसमें से हम लेते हैं, तो एक तरह का इलीगल चीज नहीं हो जाती?
Yes, very clear. That is illegal. That is illegal. That is harming the public interest.
वो जो इलीगल है, वो फिर क्या आपकी अपनी वो हो सकती है?
No, legally it cannot be, and the person can be punished by the state authorities. The right to eat the food is the right to appropriate for himself. A man must appropriate the food to himself to eat it. Unless a man appropriates the food, he cannot eat it. He must make it his own private property when he eats it. This must be true even if all men originally had the earth in common. Property ownership must start with the simple right to use things. So with the right to use things, it starts the private ownership. It starts with the right to use the things necessary for life. The third part of chapter 3, power over the lion versus power over his son. Let us return to Filmer's claim about Adam's power. Filmer says Adam's power comes from his fatherly rule. Filmer says this power is naturally royal. Fatherly power is naturally royal, kingly. But this power is separate from any special grant from God. Filmer says this power, this fatherly power, this royal power is separate from any special grant from God. Filmer says Adam's power comes from the words in Genesis 1.28, Bible. He is referring to Bible, Genesis 1.28. These words say that God gave Adam dominion over every living thing that moveth upon the earth. Filmer says this power over every living thing includes power over his children. Includes power over his children. But in Bible it is said power over everything which moveth on the earth. But this argument is illogical. John Locke says this argument is illogical. It is not logical. Why? How? The text clearly shows what Adam's power is over. What Adam's power is over. It is over the fish of the sea and the fowls of the air. Okay? The living things in the water and out of the water, and the birds in the air. God gave Adam power over on all these things. It is over every beast of the earth. This power given to Adam is over every beast of the earth. Let us take the example of the lion. Adam was given power to rule over the lion. This means Adam had the power to kill the lion, and Adam had the power to tame the lion. This power is an absolute right over the life of the lion. So Adam could take the life of the lion. But this power over the life of the lion is an execution of a mere brutal dominion. Okay? But it is a brutal dominion. You can kill a lion. You have the power of a lion, so it's your choice whether you let it live or not. It's a brutal dominion. This power over animals is purely destructive or it is managerial. We can manage the animals or we can destroy the animals. It does not give Adam the right to rule over the life of his own son, just like Adam can rule the life of a lion. He cannot rule the life of his son. Adam's son is a fellow man. Lion is a beast. But Adam's son is a fellow human being, not a mere brute beast. Adam's son is not a mere brute beast. The power over the life of a lion is not the same as the sovereignty over a child. The power over a brute animal does not give political power over another man.
सर इसमें लाइन को ही क्यों सिंबॉलिकली यूज किया है?
Just to have an example, for example, he has also talked about horses and cows. So, since he is talking about beasts, so lion is a famous beast, beast of the beasts. Yes.
The writer is only justify the influence and dominance
Yes.
Adam.
Yes. So Filmer must show why the power over the brute beast includes power over a rational son. So Filmer has not showed. Filmer has not proved. Filmer has just asserted. John Locke says Filmer must show, Filmer must prove why the power of the brute beast includes power over a rational son. He has failed to show this important link. Filmer has failed. The fourth part of chapter 3, the problem of government in habit. Filmer repeats his claim that the fatherly power is the royal power. The fatherly power is the royal power. It is Filmer's claim. He argues that all power should be traced back to Adam. Filmer argues all power should be traced back to Adam. But Filmer still has not given a reason for this claim. Filmer has not shown why fatherly power is superior to the natural freedom of men. Filmer even introduces a strong idea to cover the time before children were born. Filmer introduces a strange idea to cover the time before children were born, when Adam had no children. So he was also the king of those children. Filmer argues, who were not yet born. Filmer says Adam was a governor in habit and not in act.
In a habit or in act.
Filmer says, when Adam had no children yet, still he was a governor of their governor. still he governed them. Still he ruled those children who were not yet born. So Filmer says, at that time when he did not have children, he was governor of his children in habit, not in act. So this is a very pretty way of describing the situation. In fact, John Locke is saying it is illogical. It is not sensible. It is not a sensible argument. It is a joke. John Locke is saying, in fact, saying it's a joke.
Maybe he's using it metaphorically.
Maybe metaphor fits here. I don't know whether metaphor fits here or not. So John Locke says it means a man is a governor without having an actual government. Filmer is saying a man can be a governor without having any government. It means a man is a father without having any children yet. Any children yet. There are no children, but a man can be a father. It means a man is a king without having any subjects. So it's not possible that man is a king when there are no subjects, there are no people to rule. This is an unusual assertion. John Locke says this assertion made by Filmer is unusual. According to this logic, Sir Robert Filmer was an author before he even wrote his book. Filmer was an author when he had not written yet any book. So he became an author in habit, not in act. So does our mind accept this? Any rational man can accept this.
No.
Then someone can be an author in habit when he or she has not written any book? No. This kind of reasoning is merely wordplay. So Filmer is using wordplay, playing with words. He's not providing any logic, any argument, any reasoning, any substance. It does not establish the foundation of absolute power. The fact remains that Filmer failed to prove Adam was the sole lord of the earth. Filmer failed to prove Adam's post-dominion gave him power over his sons. Therefore, the first foundation of absolute power has been entirely overthrown. So this was the first part of Filmer's first set of arguments given by Filmer. So John Locke has rejected all these arguments, Filmer's arguments. Since the foundation is destroyed, the entire building of absolute monarchy must fall down. So in fact, John Locke is saying monarchy, absolute authority, it has no logic. It has no logic. Okay, ji, chapter 4 of Adam's title to sovereignty by donation. Genesis 1:28. It's a reference to Bible. of Adam's title to sovereignty. Here we have 6 points in this chapter: the question of Adam's death, the debate with Sheldon on succession, the problem of finding the true heir, God's grant to all mankind, the right to live and the rule of reason, the conclusion of Filmer's false foundations. John Locke says, now I must turn to the second part of the argument. The great champion of absolute monarchy, Sir Robert Filmer, has a second plan. He argues that even if Adam's power cannot be proved, the world is still not naturally free. Robert Filmer argues, even if Adam's power cannot be proved, the world is still not naturally free. People are not free. Filmer says that Adam's heir must have this royal authority. This is why I must now examine, John Locke says, this is why I must now examine the question of how this power passes down to the next generations, coming generations. I need to ask a simple, direct question. If a man like Adam had absolute monarchical power, who must his successor be? Who can be his successor? The answer is very easy to see. The heir must be the person who has the sole exclusive title to rule. Any person who has the sole exclusive title to rule after Adam. I must find this particular person who stands above all other people. If I cannot find this single designated heir, then the whole world is left in natural freedom. Natural freedom. This freedom is the right of all men to live under a government of their own choosing. So when people are free, they have natural freedom. Now they are free to choose their government. So when they choose their own government, they are still free because they have chosen their own government on their own, by their choice. The second point in chapter 4, the question of Adam's death. Filmer says that once Adam died, his absolute power passed to his eldest son. When Adam died, his power passed over to his eldest son. Filmer claims this transfer is based on the law of God, on divine law. He says it is a fundamental law of nature and of all nations. He claims that a single direct line of succession exists. This line of succession goes from Adam all the way to the present kings. Filmer is arguing. Now I must pause to consider what this claim means. John Locke says. John Locke says, now I must pause to consider what this claim by Filmer means. We must agree that kings should be obeyed. All of us agree. If there is a king, obviously people have to obey him. But we must still demand proof of this crucial claim. If people are to obey the king, we must demand some proof of this claim. We must demand to know who this rightful heir is today. Who this rightful heir is today, because Adam has passed. If the true and only heir cannot be clearly named, then everyone else's power is simply usurpation. You know, usurpation? All of you understand? Usurpation, when you don't have the right, but even then you occupy something. Occupying something without right, it is usurpation. Yes. So if the true and only heir cannot be clearly named, then everyone else's power is simply usurpation. Usurpation means ruling without right. Ruling. So if someone is ruling without right, he or she has usurped the power. If that is the case, then Mankind has a right to return to its natural freedom. The next point in chapter 4, the debate with Selden on succession.
Seldom, sir.
Selden was a scholar, famous scholar. Filmer quotes a very learned man named Selden to support his idea. In fact, Robert Filmer has quoted Selden in his book. Selden was an expert on Hebrew law. Filmer says Selden showed that the laws of God gave Adam's power to his eldest son. But Filmer is misleading us here. John Locke says Filmer is misleading us here. Your net is not working? So before 2 p.m., when I am not here, when you're out of the department, you can ask me, remind me on the group so that I share the slides before you come to the class. And then you can download the slides on your phone and you can use them here. So if you want to do it, you can go out for a while so that you don't know it. Your network's outside? Okay. So you can get the slides when your net is working. So, but Filmer is misleading us here. Selden was simply discussing Jewish custom. Selden, Hebrew scholar, he was just simply discussing Jewish custom. Selden was showing what happened in the Hebrew families. He was not giving a law of God that must bind all kings and all people forever. So at that time, the eldest son would get all the property. The eldest son would be the only heir to his father at that time, and it is also in the Bible. It is discussed here. In Bible, it was also ordered in Bible. The eldest son would get all the property. The younger sons would get nothing at the death of their father. It was the rule, and it has been practiced in Europe in 2-3 centuries ago, a few centuries ago. Yes.
Last week आपने बताया था ये.
Yes. It was the rule. It was the practice in all Christian countries, almost all Christian countries, and maybe in Judaism as well. Maybe. So he was not giving a law of God that must bind all kings and all people forever. John Locke says, I must point out that Filmer misrepresents the whole argument. Selden was talking about the domestic power of a father. Domestic power of a father, not political power of fathers. This is the power over his own household and family matters.
अब तो वो भी नहीं लीजिए.
Selden was not talking about political power, and Selden was not talking about the power of a king. Selden's discussion was about the family, not the state. Not the state. Filmer ignores this important distinction. So, power can be of two types. The first type of power is to control others, to force others. And the other type of power is to enable others, to facilitate others, to empower others. It is also a power. And I believe it is a greater power. So now parents and fathers, they have a greater power. They can have they can get better education for their children, for their sons and daughters. They can empower their other family members. Husbands can empower their wives. Wives can help their husbands become more professional, competent, capable. Okay, so this is also power. So power is not only a very crude sense of power. Okay, so it is how we approach this concept of power. So Filmer ignores this important distinction. So many people, many social workers, NGO leaders, civil society leaders, activists, human rights activists, I believe they have great power. They are changing the lives of millions. They are enabling them. They are helping them uh, learn, helping them have skills, helping them earn, helping them be safe and secure. Okay, so it is a greater power. On the other hand, the people, if a dacoit has a gun, he can kill 100 people. It is also a power, but what type of power it is? It is destructive power. So if we are hell bent to dominate our family members, to control our family members, to force our family members to accept our decisions and act upon our wishes, it is not a wise type of power, a wise, good level of power. It is a very crude type of power. Okay, let us get back. Filmer ignores this important distinction. Filmer tries to confuse a father's private authority with the absolute authority of a king. Filmer takes Selden's words out of their proper context. Filmer takes Selden's words out of their proper context. Selden discussed the power of father in the domestic sphere, at home, not in the political sphere. But Robert Filmer is dragging his argument into the political sphere. Filmer makes it seem as if Selden supports his doctrine of absolute monarchy. Selden's whole argument about primogeniture, the right of the firstborn son, was about simple family inheritance. Primogeniture means the right of the firstborn son, the eldest son. It is called primogeniture. So Selden's whole argument about primogeniture was about simple family inheritance. It was not about the inheritance of the absolute sovereignty of the world. The next point in chapter 4, the problem of finding the true heir. We are discussing chapter 4 of the second treatise by John Locke. Even if we accept Filmer's claim about the eldest son, we face a major problem. We face a major problem. The line of succession must be traceable with certainty. Line of succession, generations over generations. It is called succession. The line of succession must be traceable with certainty. If we cannot clearly name the person who is the next rightful heir to Adam, the whole theory fails. The line of succession was broken long ago. So we are not sure who was the rightful heir of his father at what time. So thousands and millennia have passed, centuries and millennia have passed since Adam. So how can we be sure who is the rightful heir to Adam? There's no way. The line has broken. The line has broken. Succession, the line of succession has broken. Today, no king on earth can truly prove himself to be the direct, rightful heir of Adam. Since no king can prove his title, no king has a right to rule by Filmer's system. If this is true, then all governments existing now are founded on something else entirely. They are founded on the consent of the people, or they are founded on the force, or they are founded on conquest to occupying the territories and the nations. They are not founded on the divine absolute right. Next point, God's grant to all mankind. John Locke says, I must state clearly what the Bible actually says. The Bible says that God gave the earth to Noah and his sons. The text says, into your hands they are delivered. The things in the land and on the earth, they are delivered into your hands, God says in Bible. Filmer argues that this grant must be understood in a way that favors only one ruler. He says it must be understood with subordination or in succession. Subordination means the sons rule under Noah. Noah Islam, you know.
Yes.
Subordination means the sons rule under Noah. Succession means they rule only after Noah dies. Succession. Filmer argues this must be the best interpretation because it is possible. It must be the best interpretation, Filmer says, because it is possible. Filmer says it is possible that they might enjoy it later. Noah's sons might enjoy it later, maybe after his death. This is like saying a grant of something in present possession may best be understood as a reversion. Reversion or reversion. Reversion means getting something back later. This is an absurd way to interpret a clear statement. So here again, John Locke says Filmer is not interpreting Bible properly. He is misinterpreting it. It is not right to say that express words granting common possession now can be understood as a distant future right. Distant future right. The core of all Filmer's strange reasoning is this, the crux, the summary of Filmer's argument. God did not give Noah's sons the world in common with their father. This is because it was possible for them to enjoy it under or after him, after Noah. This is a very poor argument to make against an express text in the scripture. The scripture is Bible. John Locke says this is a very poor argument to make against an express text in the scripture. It means we must not believe God. If we believe in Filmer, it means we should not believe in God. We should not believe in Bible because the meaning of the Bible's texts are different. So even when he speaks, even when God speaks, if his words conflict with Filmer's critical hypothesis, but the command to be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth applies to the sons. It is also commanded in the Bible. It is a command that requires present possession of the earth. The sons could not obey this command if only Noah owned the whole earth. If only Noah owned the earth, the sons, they could not obey Allah's command, God's command. The earth was given to all of mankind for their subsistence, for their sustenance and living and survival. Subsistence means having the means to live. This shows that the earth was given to all men for their common use. The earth was given to all people, all men, for their common use. It was not given to one man to rule over all the others. Next point, the right to live and the rule of reason. God created man and placed him in the world. This was done with the fundamental duty that man must live and preserve himself. Because this is a duty, man must also have a right. If man has to live, then man must have some rights. He has a right to the things that are necessary for his life. He has a right to food, he has a right to drink, and he has right to other necessities. This is why God gave man the power to use and take from the earth. The earth was given to man so he could maintain himself. The world was given to mankind in common. It was not given to only one person. This grant ensures that every person has the right to use nature's gifts for survival. God also gave man reason. Reason. We can reason, we can think, thinking ability. Man is to use reason to take advantage of the earth. Reason tells us how to use nature's raw materials for our comfort and benefit. This means God gave the world to the laborious hardworking, who who do labor, who work. This means God gave the world to the laborious and the rational. It was not given to the fancy or greed of men who only cause trouble. This principle is the highest law. Which principle? The right to live. The right to live. So if man is asked to live, to survive, it is a right to live, right to live, right to life. And if man cannot have benefit from the things that are in the earth, that are on the land, how can he live? He cannot live. So this way, Filmer's argument is weak. It provides the rules, it provides the true basis for the right to use the earth. Next point, the conclusion of Filmer's false foundations. I think it's the last point. The conclusion of Filmer's false foundations. John Locke says, I have now finished my examination of the first book of Filmer's work. I have shown that the claim about Adam's private dominion is false. I have shown that the claim about Adam's kingly authority is also false. I have now completely overthrown the entire foundation of his political system. And his political system is absolute monarchy. Since the entire foundation is gone, there is nothing left to support the idea of absolute monarchy. The claim that all government must be derived from Adam is rejected. The claim that all men are born subject to Adam's power is also rejected. My first task is now complete. John Locke says, my first task is now complete. The next question is about the inheritance of power. Inheritance of power. The whole debate must now shift to the second main question. What is the second main question? Who has the sole rightful title to be Adam's heir today? So here comes the end of our today's discussion. So now we have time, I think, and we can have a question and answer session and discussion.